Hello, Sonar family. Jules here, and today we have Mr. Mark Eldridge with Artisan Customs. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, and it's good to see you again. It was nice meeting you at the drum show.
It was nice to meet you in Nashville. That was good.
You got some beautiful stuff here with you today,
Yes, sir. We've got a lot of the Artisan Customs products here, mostly drumstick holders and such here. Obviously, that's the topic.
right?
And yeah, man, we'll get as deep as you want to go into what we do with the exotic wood stuff.
Where did this start for you?
Um, January 1st, 2015, and my mom got a call from her dad. He lived in Colorado. We're in Oklahoma. And he said, "You need to come to Denver," because he was putting himself into hospice.
Mm.
And so we got her on a plane, got her up there, and I stayed at home with the girls and, looking for something to do. So I just started retuning the drum kit. I pulled all the heads off, cleaned it up, put them back on, getting it all tuned out. Got down to the floor tom, boom, boom. It sounded great. So I was like, cool. Hung my stick bag on the floor tom and it went thunk. And I was like, never hanging anything on a drum again. What would my father-in-law do? Because he was a woodworker, made a bunch of furniture and stuff.
Hmm.
And I thought he would take a piece of California redwood and drill holes in it and have something to hold sticks. And that was the beginning of it. I found a piece of California redwood. I made some stick holders. I gave one to Todd, kept one for myself, and still have that one. And from there, I've made, I don't know, 1,000 of these things, maybe more.
So anybody that's watching this that doesn't already know the connection, you mentioned Todd. Now, who are you referring to?
Todd Suckerman.
Of course.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
He's got an amazing drum kit these days, and I know you got to be in on making some. Tell us about what your part of that was.
Well, I met Todd years ago. My career has been based in audio, car audio, really high-end car audio,
Mm.
to the point where you can install the system, and when you're listening to it, you can envision the sound stage out on the hood with the drums and the bass and the singer and everything, as if you're listening to a nice studio reference system. That's my history. That's where I come from. Real high-end car audio competition. And I was always looking for new music to use for demos and for listening to audio systems. And I had bought Methods and Mechanics, Todd's first instructional video. And if you're a drummer and you don't have Methods and Mechanics, you need to get it. Okay. Um, and some of the music in there was done by his wife, Taylor Mills,
Hmm.
and Scott Bennett and Todd produced it and had a bunch of other people play on it. But some of the tracks were done so well as far as listening to a nice reference system and being able to analyze it. Um, I thought, I need to contact Todd just out of the blue and see if he can explain some of the things they did in that recording process, because I wanted to know how it was recorded so I knew what to listen for. And so I sent him a letter and we conversed back and forth. And over time, we've just become really good friends. So that's where it started.
You told us about the floor tom and the stick back killing the resonance there. When did you decide to go into to production and that kind of thing? And did you have any inspiration or with that, or did you just think of this stuff on your own?
That was an immediate thing. I mean, as soon as I started making that first set, one for Todd, one for me, and some others, I was like, okay, this is going to become a side business. It's not my main income source,
Hmm.
but it's what I love to do more than anything else. Just take a piece of wood, figure out what it wants to be, and make something out of it. Whether it's a stick holder like one of these things, or one of these accessory pods, you can put your keys and your drink and all that kind of stuff in there, or a guitar hanger or whatever it happens to be. Um, I've always done with my hands, the real high-end car audio work, the installation work with the speaker installation and the amplifier installation, all that fabrication stuff.
Hmm.
My dad taught me the basics of woodworking many, many years ago. And like I said, my father-in-law was one of the main inspirations for this also. And it became a recreational thing for me to make these, and it's a side business, you know.
Hmm.
And if I can take a nice piece of wood and make something beautiful out of it, and a musician or somebody else buys it and they're inspired to play their music better because of that, that's what it's all about. It's about it's jewelry for musicians. It's not something you have to have, but if it makes you feel good having it, give me a call.
So going back to Todd for a minute,
Yep.
you made some stuff for the new SQ2 sonar set.
Hmm.
So, having known him as long as you have, were you able to sense the excitement he had uh, for going back to sonar after all these
Oh man.
years?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did that resonate with you getting to be a part of getting that new rig together?
It was really cool, man, to be kind of on the inside of that loop.
Mm-hmm.
Just um, I'd made stuff for Todd for his uh, Babinga kit years before, and then his Black Limba kit over the past 7 years or so. And he called me and said, "Mark, I'm moving back to Sonar." And I was like, "Wow, that's cool." I mean, just the story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he loves everybody at Pearl. He loves everybody over there. But Sonar was his first love,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And he said, can you make me new pieces for the SQ2 kit? And I said, what's the wood? And he said, it's marble wood. And I said, done, you know? So but I made him a stick bucket that goes down by the floor toms and it'll hold, 20, 30 sticks or whatever he needs down there. Another one similar to this piece, these are Todd's signature series pieces right here that I have now, but he has one of them mounted to the left side to hold, 9 sticks and brushes or whatever else, and then a little monitor pack holder to hold his monitor that he plugs in, and they all have the blue LED, the Jimmy Johnson lights on them to
Mm-hmm.
light it up, and um, yeah, it's always a pleasure to make stuff for Todd because he appreciates it so much, and it inspires him, and just to know that a little piece of what I've done maybe inspires him to play even just a little bit better. That's pretty cool.
So were you able to source that wood yourself, or did you have to contact Sonar to get it from their same source, or how'd that work?
No, the Marblewood, you can find it a couple places online or around the world. I've got sources all over the world now for wood. It
Mm-hmm.
just depends on what I need. And so I was able to find the Marblewood. Sometimes it's not readily available, but I was able to find a couple of good sources. And actually, Gabor Donye just picked up with Sonar, and he's got a Marblewood kit as well. And so I'm making pieces for Gabor at this point as well. So that finding the wood for these things, it just you go where you have to go, and it
Mm-hmm.
just takes some time to find stuff sometimes.
So for somebody wanting to do something unique, maybe not even match their drum set, but just see
Hmm.
something online that looks beautiful and say, "Hey, I wonder if this guy can make this."
Yeah.
What kind of limitations do you have as far as minimum quantities, or does that such thing exist?
No, no. I mean, every piece we make is a unique piece anyway. I
Hmm.
mean, if somebody wants 10 pieces, we'll make 10 pieces. Most people want one or maybe two, so, and we do custom stuff. We have a pretty good stock of pieces now.
Hmm.
Um, 95% of people can find something we have in stock and go, ooh, I like that. Um, but if you have something special that you really want, we can do that too. I had somebody call me and said, "Hey, I bought a Black Limba kit, but I want it in red instead of the tobacco burst like Todd's. Can you make me a table and a stick bucket and a side stick holder and another stick holder?" And I was like, "Yeah, give me a couple months, we'll get it done."
With Todd's products, and I know you got a lot more there than just his stuff.
Right.
There's something special about a lot of those. Do you want to tell them what it is?
Yeah. Todd's pieces are they're marble wood. Okay, they're solid marble wood, and they're finished to match his kit. But I have a laser engraver and I laser etched. I don't know if you can see, we'll get a close up, but laser etched his logo into every piece. And then when I had them almost done, I took them down to his studio and he personally autographed every one of them. And then I put a couple of coats of clear over top of that so the signature wouldn't get worn off. And so, yeah, every one of these pieces Todd has autographed. They're really cool. They're special.
I've seen them in person, and I agree wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
So, what else do you have going on there?
We do stuff for really any type of musician. We make guitar stands, guitar hangers. We make tables. I've got a couple. Maybe I can move the camera around here in a little bit. But we'll make stick buckets. I have a stick bucket over here, the cherry piece. These pieces down here are accessory pods where you can put a bottle of water, your tuning key. This one's a stick tray. It can hold some sticks, your glasses or your phone. Got slots for your phone. I sell more of these than I do stick holders because anybody can use this kind of thing. You can put
Hmm.
it on your desk. You can put it on your guitar amp so you don't just have a drink and picks sitting on top of your amp. They have a place to go. And one of the coolest things that we do here at Artisan Customs, I don't know if you can see them. I might turn the lights out here in a little bit. But these little blue tubes, let me pull this one out and I'll bring it up close so you can kind of see it there.
Hmm.
Okay. It's a guitar tube on top of a pen light with a blue LED under it. Okay. So that came from Jimmy Johnson, who was Tommy Shaw's guitar tech for many years, and Alex Lifeson's guitar tech for many years before that. And Jimmy and I were just chit-chatting with Polly on the stage one time, and I looked over towards Jimmy's work area, and I saw these three blue guitar tubes sitting up on top. And I was like, Jimmy, what is that? And he said, oh, that's just blue LEDs under a guitar tube. And I said, well, what's it for? And he said, when the lights go out between songs, Tommy knows, go to the blue lights, get a new guitar. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And he showed me that. And I told him, said, Jimmy, I'm putting those on everything. It's so cool to have a blue LED under a guitar tube with the wood. And if you think about it, when you're in the forest, you never see blue unless you look up at the sky, you know?
Hmm.
So that little blue accent in the wood really pops, and it's pretty cool. So, dark between songs, you can find your stuff. If you go to a stick show and when the lights are dim, you can see the little blue LEDs all over the stage. That's all our stuff. We have these little pods on Todd's drum riser for JY and the other guys that can walk up there. Tommy and Will have tables on both sides, one for each of them. And some of the crew guys have stuff. Todd has his pieces. And makes me feel good to go to one of their shows and see the little blue lights everywhere. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, are there any other bands that you're tied in with that you do products for them pretty heavy?
I've done pieces for a lot of musicians, none that are public endorsements necessarily.
Hmm.
Rich Redmond, I do a signature series with him, and he wanted. It's funny. I was talking to him at PASIC one time, and he said, "Hey, can we do a signature series?" I was like, "Sure. What do you want?" He said, "I don't care. I just want it black." He is the man in black. Yeah. So we made African blackwood and Brazilian ebony pieces for Rich, and he autographed every one of them. I've got one of those pieces down here. And so, that to name a few names, yeah, Steve Gadd has one of my pieces. I gave him one. He was very appreciative. He loves it. I've given pieces to Steve Smith and Gavin and some other guys like that. And if they use them, great. If not, it just makes me feel good knowing that, they have one of my pieces. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So, but I have a number of guys that buy my stuff. Jim Riley bought a piece in Nashville to go with his new touring kit. I thought that was really cool of him to come and say, "Hey, can I just buy one?" I was like, "Absolutely." You know, so yeah, we have a number of people using it. It's a pretty unique product in that I can't count the number of times people come through my booth and start taking pictures of stuff And they're like, yeah, I'm going to go make something for myself. I'm like, good luck with that. It's not easy coming up with the tooling and stuff to drill those holes 7 inches deep and perfectly parallel to each other and evenly spaced and all that. I don't have a CNC. I can't use a CNC on these pieces. I mean, I have some really rustic California redwood over there, and elm here. Got the marble wood and the maple, which are real finely finished. But a lot of this stuff, I mean, check out this piece of logwood. Okay. That's
Yeah.
a crazy, crazy piece. You can't put that on a CNC. That has to be done, manually.
Hmm.
And that's a big part of it is figuring out the tooling and the process to make this stuff. And the little two pods and everything else down here, just coming up with new ideas. And we get ideas from everywhere. It could be from a drummer, a guitarist, or my wife, or some kid walking up and says, "Hey, what about this?" So um, we had one guy. I was at the music store here in Tulsa, and some stuff on display, and he walked up and he's looking at my pieces and he said, "Man, I have cigar parties with 7 or 8 of my buddies. Um, can you make something that would hold cigars for my buddies when they show up?" And I was like, "Sure, I just don't drill the holes quite so deep, you know." And so I made him something out of a piece of olive like this with 8 or 9 holes, and he just puts the cigars in there and he puts it on the table, and the guys show up and grab a cigar. So we've done all kinds of stuff. You know, so we've got some really cool guitar hangers and tables and wind instrument stands. Trumpets, trombones, clarinets, that kind of thing. So just a lot of different stuff. A lot of different stuff.
Any new and exciting stuff coming out in the future, or you just kind of take that as it comes piece by piece, or what?
Yeah, it's really as it comes. I mean, like I said,
Hmm.
I'm working on Gabor stuff right now, and I am going to the UK drum show. So anybody that's going to be at the UK drum show, come find us. Our booth is going to be right outside the main entrance door to the main hallway. And so I'm making some stuff for Gabor. I'll take that over there. Um, we don't do a lot of shows. We do the Nashville show, and we'll do a couple others throughout the year. But as far as new stuff, hey, come up with an idea and give us a call. For everybody out there, just to see what we have, real quick, we have these larger holders that you can see that are sitting on top of a stand. And those would be ones that maybe you'd sit next to your floor tom and hold your brushes and your sticks and things. So between songs, you can swap out. And then we have the smaller types here that will clamp onto a cymbal stand or up under your hi-hat. And so if you drop or break a stick, you got a quick grab for it right there. That's kind of the general idea with the stick holders. And again, these little pods to hold your glasses, your keys, your drink, your phone, all that kind of stuff, and tables and everything else. So, you know, anything that can be an accessory for a musician and hold your stuff and hopefully inspire you to play better. That's what we do.
All right. Now, on a personal note,
Yes, sir.
um, since you were so active with Todd and helping him build this stuff up for his SQ2 rig,
Mhm.
are you a Sonar drummer yourself?
Well, my snare is one of Gavin's Protean snares. Okay. The kit I have is an old Pearl export kit from many years ago, simply because it's what I could get at the time and afford it. Um, my long-term goal is yes, have Sonar build me an SQ2 kit, and I'm going to send them the California Redwood burl veneer to put on the inside and outside. But until I sell a lot of these things, that's not going to happen right away. So, but I do play drums. I play at church. I play in a dad band here in Tulsa area, and have fun doing it, man. Have fun doing it.
Uh, Check the links in the description, everybody. I'm going to put his link in there to his website so you can go check his stuff out and hopefully support him, what he's doing. If you try to make that stuff yourself and drill your finger off, that's on you.
A big part of what I do, my career is based in really high-end car audio, making cars sound as good as they possibly can. And I've gotten to a point now in my career that I'm teaching others how to do that as well. the bulk of what I do these days is hold classrooms here. I'll bring in 15 to 20 people several times a year, and we spend 2 days learning everything about car audio, talking about the recordings and how they're done, talking about the human hearing system, how we perceive sound. Then we do demos on reflections and absorption and all of the anomalies and problems you can face. We actually build a simulated car in the classroom, place the speakers, design the system, build it and tune it right there. And then the second day, we tune everybody's cars that brings a car. That's that's a realm that I've been in for a long time, and really, really high end stuff. And we used to, I competed for 20 years at the upper level of car audio competition and getting judged on whose car sounds the best. And that's a big part of what I did. And you can see, this is a studio. There's our reference systems. We have them set up. And in this room, we set up for the classroom stuff. There's a bunch of the trophies and stuff over the years from the shows I went to. And, won a few shows here now and then. And there's my beautiful export kit. So, got one of my tables on there, and down on the bottom is a stick bucket. That stick holder over there is my California redwood piece. That was the first piece I ever made. And so, yeah, and there's the sonar Protean snare.
Killer snare drum.
Yep, beautiful snare drum. Sounds amazing. I play it all the time. This is the wood collection. Find a piece of wood, we'll make something for you. Big California redwood stump there. Haven't cut that up yet, but that's going to happen at some point. And just wood all over there, and workshop over here. Some new pieces we're working on. Some of the new accessory pods, couple tables. But check this one out right here. Isn't that pretty?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's Buckeye, California Buckeye burl. So
now, these pieces on this table, are these custom orders for somebody? Are these available or what?
No, these will be available. This is a walnut burl table there. There's another one over there. Oh, there's one of Todd's pieces that's been giving me a fit trying to get the finish to work on that one. So that one's been frustrating. And these are just pods that I'm making. And there's a California redwood stick bucket, so these are just pieces that will be on the website here in a couple months. And here is kind of the rack where we store all the stick holders and the tables and guitar hangers up top and everything else, so this is the supply we take to the shows. And there's a coffee table. The coffee table's made out of actual marimba bars that we glue together and make a table. So that one's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah. So anyway, neat stuff. It's fun. We have a good time with this. And like I said, if it inspires somebody to play their music better, that's what it's all about. That's literally what it's all about. And
well, I tell you, with this being such a gearhead kind of a channel, I think people enjoyed that tour. I know I did.
Good. Well, I appreciate that. So, yeah, that's what we do, man. I go to the shows, I'm out in the public and hanging out with people. And when I get tired of that, it's nice to come back here, go into the wood supply, figure out which piece of wood wants to be something that day and make something out of it. It's therapeutic for me to get my hands dirty and do that kind of thing.
I guess that's a lot. I guess obviously that's a lot different than somebody that takes an order for cabinetry and they're having to go by a set of specs and measurements and all that, and you just kind of get to follow your heart or your gut or however that flows for you. And
that's what it is, man. It's you walk in and you find this piece of manzanita burl, and it took me a week to figure out how to drill the holes in there to hold all the sticks, because they're all at different angles, because that wood gets so narrow at the bottom. So you can see how it fans out this way. It's one of the most unique stick holders I've ever made. But that's part of the fun for me, being a little bit OCD and ADHD and everything else, is figuring some of that stuff out. And when somebody calls and says, "Hey, I have this, I want this particular order," figuring that out for them.
So explain to me what that is. I mean, I know it's a stick holder, but
Yeah,
wh-
where this would go. Okay,
no,
so
I
this,
mean, I just where did it come from? I mean, the actual piece of wood, was that
oh,
part of a
yeah, this
root
is
or what?
Yeah, this is manzanita. Manzanita grows primarily in California.
Okay.
Okay. But the manzanita bush above ground is just a scrub bush, man. It's dirty, it's nasty. But the root burl, when you dig it up, that's what you get, you know. And then that character on the backside,
Yeah.
it's
That's
just,
amazing. That's
isn't it? It's crazy, and you never know. One of the coolest things for me about this whole thing, it's a Forrest Gump deal, where he talks about the chocolates, and you never know what you're going to get.
mhm.
Well, that's what this is. When you take a gnarly, nasty piece of wood, you never know what you're going to get until you cut it open and start shaping it. And that's part of the fun with well, this piece over here, this piece of cherry. Let me see if I can turn that where you can see that a little better. This one, it's a stick bucket. It's got one of our tube lights, but you can see on this side, it has some of the bark. It
Mhm.
has an area there where the bark was pulled off. It has an area over here where the bark is shaved. And then that spot there, it's actually a limb that had broken off and tried to heal itself over, you know? So every piece of wood has a story. It's nuts, but every piece of wood has a story. Um, California redwood. This is bird's eye redwood. It's pretty rare. I don't know if you can see the little bird's eyes all over the place.
Mhm.
What that is the grain of the wood. The bird's eyes are growing through the grain of the wood, and you can actually see those rays going through the wood at different points. But that's pretty rare in redwood. It's a real pretty piece. So, it's I have people come in, they'll come into my shop, and they're overwhelmed by the number of pieces that I have and trying to figure out. And I say, well, quit looking at them. Go find yourself a piece of wood in my collection back there and we'll make something out of it. So we can do that too. And I've had people send me pieces of wood to make stuff out of. They have a sentimental piece that their dad had for many years, and then they wanted to make something from that piece of wood. So I've done that as well.
Now, have you ever gotten a piece like that and looked at it and thought, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to pull this off? Does that ever happen?
Oh, all the time, all the time. Um, I'll have, okay, let me just move the camera again. All right. See this guitar down there?
Yes, sir.
That's a Stratocaster. Now, see that piece behind it? Can you see the whole thing there?
Yes.
That is a root section from an Osage orange tree in Oklahoma. And what this is, let me turn it sideways so you can kind of see it there. The tree was growing sideways. If you flip this down, I looked at this piece of wood for 5 years trying to figure out what it was going to be. I couldn't figure it out until one day I propped it up this way and it said, "I want to hold a guitar." So, you know, and
Yeah.
uh, and there you go. So that's you just never know what the wood's going to say to you. You know, and like I said, that California redwood stump in there, I don't know what I'm going to make out of it yet. It might be a whole bunch of things, might be one thing, I don't know, but I haven't figured that out yet. And it drives my wife crazy sometimes because she walks into the shop and she's overwhelmed by all the stuff I have. She's like, you cannot die because I don't know what to do with this stuff.
Now, does she have a creative side that enjoys being a part of any of that, or is that just all your stuff?
That's my stuff. I mean, she goes to the shows with me sometimes.
Hmm.
She's coming to the UK with me to be over there for that show. And but she absolutely understands that this is what I do and this is where I get the release.
Hmm.
I'm an introvert by nature, and I love being at shows and hanging out with people and doing all that. But at some point, I have to be on my own, and I come in the shop and do stuff with wood and make stuff for other people. That's what gives me joy, is creating something like this that somebody else can take and it makes them happy. So that makes me happy. So yeah, yeah. Drummers in general, man, just seem to be, you go to these drum shows and no matter who it is, they just seem to be great guys. I got to meet Greg Potter in Nashville and chat with him for just a few minutes, and Greg Bissonette and Jim Riley and
Yeah.
Rich and all those guys. They get pulled 50 ways from tomorrow all the time. And it's tough for them to focus on one person at a shop, you know? I can't
Well,
imagine being in their situation. I met Todd, I don't know, 15 years ago, something like that. And a lot of Artisan Customs, what has happened is because of that relationship.
hmm
I met Todd, made a couple stick holders for him. He introduced me to Polly Carrizo, his drum tech at the time. And Polly and I worked together to come up with some ideas on some different things. And through Polly, he introduced me to Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Heinz and Evan and Brian and all the other crew guys.
hmm
And I became good friends with the crew. And when I'm hanging out with Sticks, I'm more hanging out with the crew than I am anybody else almost, it seems. But Jimmy Johnson was guitar tech for Tommy Shaw and for Alex Lifeson for many years. And he was best friends with Neil Peart. They grew up together, went to school together, and they never lost contact. Well, Jimmy came up with so many ideas for me, the blue tube lights and the little pods and things of that nature were because I met him and some of the ideas he had. He never asked for anything for himself ever. And then early in 2019, I decided to make just a little tube pod. Um, and I gave that to him. And it was so funny. He immediately took it to the side of the stage and put his bottle of water in it and some chocolate chip cookies because he always had a selection of cookies on the side of the stage during the show. And then he asked me, he said, "Hey, I'm friends with Neil. I would like to give him a stick holder. Would you make one for him?" Blew me away. And this was 2019. Neil had already stopped playing with the band
hmm
because of his health issues, but Jimmy wanted to give him one, and I was like, sure. So I took the piece of California redwood that was right under the piece that I had made for Jimmy and started working on that. And took me a while to get going. Had to strengthen it up. It was kind of a gnarly piece of redwood, and I had to do some epoxy work with it. And I didn't quite get finished with it. And in July of 2019, Jimmy passed away.
Oh,
And just that was tough in and of itself. Just, Jimmy's such a great guy, a good friend,
yeah.
and didn't think about it. And then a couple weeks later, I thought, I can't do anything with this stick holder. So I just put it on the shelf, left it, forgot about it. And then working through, and then Todd got his new black limbo kit. We did all the stick holders for that. And talking to Todd, I said, Todd, we need to give one of these to Polly. So he said, yeah, let's give one to Polly. So I made one for him. Um, and then Polly caught COVID and he passed away. A little bit later after that, he hired Mark Petrocelli as his drum tech.
hmm
And I had this stick holder that Todd and I wanted to give to Polly. And I said, Todd, can we give this to Mark Petrocelli? And he thought, man, that's a perfect idea. So I met them over in Arkansas at a show. We gave that stick holder to Mark. and met up with Jeff, and I had made some pieces for Jeff Heinz for
Mhm.
his SQ2 kit at home with the Bolivian rosewood. And there's a picture of the four of us together there. And just through that process, uh, Lauren Wheaton and I got hooked up just in conversations. And that got me thinking. I said, Lauren, I had this stick holder I was going to make for Neil. Would you like it? And he said, sure. So I finished it out, sent it to him. One of the coolest things that's ever happened to me in doing this, he sent me a picture of him with the stick holder, with the last pair of sticks that Neil ever played with, and a pair of sticks from Eric Singer, and a picture of Neil in the back with one of his little caps and stuff. And that's a pretty cool shot. That was really cool. So that's maybe the coolest story I've got. So
Well, it's interesting the level you've been able to get to with these different people with your product and all that, and how that's given you access to a different realm than most of us will ever know.
and I've never met Lauren personally, just via communications. But yeah, I mean it's a great side benefit to this, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
Um, so many people that have been inspirations for me, and I've been able to take some of this stuff and inspire them. That's a really cool full circle kind of thing
Sure.
that never never occurred to me that any of that kind of stuff would happen. So it's really nice.
Good
Yeah,
stories.
yeah, yeah. Um, Couple others, people that I've worked with, Tommy Taylor, guitarist out of Austin, plays there at Johnson, has done a bunch of his own stuff. He's a super guy, plays sonar, and he's a great guy. Um, Aaron Edgar, I made him a killer, killer California redwood uh, root burl table to sit next to his drum set. He's got that very aggressive, gnarly character desire, and that's
Hmm.
what this one is. It's really cool. So that's another one there. Nice to be part of that whole crowd. It's
Sure.
being with a bunch of drummers. Um, it's really cool. It's really cool because everybody's making music and living it, and they love the music. And whether you play punk or rock or blues or jazz or whatever else, you're still hitting stuff. You
Hmm.
know, it's 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 uh it's a really cool part of the industry.